welcome and thank you for staying, and very nice to see you. And I'm also here to express how impressed I am by the fact that you are interested in inclusive and accessible design. It just really warms my heart that so many of you want to know and learn a lot more about it, so that's really great. And I'm actually glad you had something to drink, because this topic is not going to be super easy and lovely. But I hope it will be eye-opening at the same time. A little bit about myself. So I'm Erika. I am a UX researcher at the moment for an NHS trust. And I have a master's in psychology, and I spent 10 years in mental health care before pivoting to UX research. So somehow design and trauma, it's like a beautiful, they coming together, my old and present profession, they're really coming together, so that's really, really interesting for me. And it's also important to know about me that I'm a big fan of therapy and mental health care, and I just really like to emphasize that it's so important to look after that as well as our physical health, so I am here to raise awareness about that too. Content warning, we are going to talk about trauma here. I'm going to define what it is and just give you some examples, what sort of traumas there are, and but nothing deeper than that, apart from one example about miscarriage and fertility difficulties. So if you find it too sensitive, feel free to leave the room and come back a bit later. And also, I'm a qualified psychologist, so if you want to talk about it after, or I can just direct you to resources if something gets stirred up. Okay, it's trauma. I think we hear this sentence, I'm traumatized, way too often these days. And for me, as a professional, it's just really a bit annoying, because it's a serious thing. It's a serious thing. If there were a lot of people on a tube and people say, oh, I'm traumatized by it, it's not really fair, because people do suffer from it greatly. So what is it? I actually have this thing here, great. It's an event or series of events that will leave the victims of them scarred and shattered as their physical and psychological safety is damaged and or threatened. So what gets threatened here is your safety, your hope, and your trust in others or in the world as it happens to you. Very, very important to mention that it has different impacts on an individual. I'm not sure if I overheard it correctly the last time I spoke about it. Somebody said when they were talking, oh, a breakup, just get over with it. It's not a big deal. It can be a big deal for people. It's great if you're resilient enough. It's great if you have that psychological immune system very well implanted in you, but not everybody has that. So one impact or one event can have different marks on everybody. Also very important to know that luckily the science is coming away from the fact that it's a psychological condition. No, it's a neurobiological condition. So if somebody was growing up in an environment from early on when their emotional needs were not met or they were physically abused, that means structures in their brain are not the same. So if you go for an MRI scan compared to someone who had a nice nurturing environment, there will be actual differences in your amygdala and prefrontal cortex. So that's why luckily therapy is also shifting now in terms of how to deal with it. Talking therapy will not do too much about it, unfortunately. And again, I'd like to emphasize, not a character weakness. It's not your fault if you're a people pleaser for I don't know, for 30 years and you can't change. It's not your fault if you cannot get out of abusive relationships. It's something to do with that. And I really would like to raise awareness again, shifting that, oh, just get out of it, oh, just be happy, or just stop being depressed. It's not how it works, unfortunately. Trauma types, it's a really difficult thing to collect them all together. I'm trying it. I'm sorry about the very busy slide. So we can talk about acute trauma. I'm sure you're very familiar with that, because this is what gets talked about very often. So one on attacks, sexual assault, accidents, some sort of disasters or a medical event. Chronic trauma, it's the one which is really tricky. It could be war, bullying, chronic illnesses, the isms, sexism, racism, constant chronic abuse from caregivers or from school or something like that. And this is an on-demand toxic workplace. People do come to me after these events and say, like, please put it on because it's important, and it is. It is very important if you're subject to a very toxic boss or colleague or just a very unkind environment for a long time. You can't leave because you need the money. We know the market is not great at the moment. It will have a toll on your mental health and sometimes on your physical health. Generational trauma. Science knows that Jews and other group of people who went to attacks or bad mistreatment, they pass it on onto their children. Relational trauma, again, a big one. Personally, I think it's one of the most difficult ones because if you are abused physically or psychologically by your parents or your caregivers or very close relatives, it's really leaving its mark. Vicarious trauma, it's caregivers and emergency service providers. They also doesn't get talked about too much, unfortunately, but they are also subject to this. And collective trauma, we can all relate to this. It's the racist, LGBTQIA plus communities. COVID, we all went through this. Again, some of us took it really well. Some of us were just very happy to stay at home, right? The other, just we went crazy and we couldn't wait to get over with it. It's subject to how we are. And recessions, mass redundancies, it's not great. I'm also having that, losing my job twice in a year, not great, absolutely not great. And I've been in therapy forever, but still, it's just really hard to deal with, right? Okay, again, not a cherry-picking exercise, just remember that. What it's not very obvious to people that these following things are also can be categorized as trauma. Living in poverty and with financial difficulties, as we just said, that of someone, and of course it's your pets as well. Like, we got this lovely one there for 11 years. It's a long time to spend time with your pets, and it can have bad effect on you. Breakup, divorces, again, we take it differently. And again, if it's a massive divorce, it's a massive breakup. I'm sorry, it's not great to experience that. Rejection, any those friendships, any kind of rejections. Moving countries. I left my own country 12 years ago. It wasn't easy. Witnessing trauma and abuse, also people are not aware of that, how detrimental that is to your mental health. If you need to witness that, maybe your favorite colleague is getting mistreated by your boss, you are not getting it, but seeing that, or when you see your colleagues getting fired, that's also not a very safe place for you to be, and it can have bad effect on you, and addicted close ones. These two, emotional abuse, again, doesn't get talked about a lot. However, if you live in an environment or with people who constantly embarrass you, humiliate you, criticize your behavior, your appearance, anything like that, let's say for 20 years, again, can have a really, really long-term effects on your mental health. And neglect, emotionally non-available close ones, unmet emotional needs. Science says it's just as bad for us and just as damaging for our mental health and later on our physical health than abuse. It can be like that. And complex trauma or CPTSD is a very serious condition. It's just coming into the science recently, and it's a new diagnosis. PTSD is related to one on-off event or war or an attack, but complex trauma is really coming from what I just mentioned. If the abuse is chronic and ongoing, and it's just almost hard or impossible to escape from, people can develop complex trauma and CPTSD. Symptoms, hope you can see this well. Some of them are well known. Flashbacks, startle response, panic attacks, chronic pain, memory, concentration problems, depression, and so on. This is what I'm going to it later on when your users can present some of it on a user session or something like that. And these are also trauma responses and trauma behavior, fear of conflict, trust issues, serious trust issues, people pleasing, shame, toxic shame, feeling toxic shame on yourself, self-worth, fear of abandonment, and some other things here. So why are we talking about this? Why is it important to include it these days into inclusive research and design? Because of this, around 1 in 3 adults in England report having experienced at least one traumatic event, and that's what they report, right? We don't know the rest. We don't know what's actually going on and what they experience at the same time, because you had a car accident, but you have also an abusive marriage or relationship. That's, again, so many things together. Why is it important? Because that is 1 in 3 users and 1 in 3 of your coworkers that you are working with. Now, over the psychological parts and back to design and research. What I started to discover and experience since this topic just got brought into my attention, that design also not helpful sometimes or many times. So I'd like to show you everyday examples, and I hope you can relate. And please do find me after this or on LinkedIn and send me your own examples, because I just really like them. What is considered triggering design elements, or who did a good job on actually being aware of them? My personal favorite. What do we think of that? Unsent messages. Who likes them? I do hate them. I really do, because it's just, why is that message? I like the feature, it's not a problem. But why do I need to know that my partner, who I'm in a big fight with, just wanted to say something and then he just said it? No, okay, you don't need to hear that. Like, no, it's really not great. Or I hope you agree, because we could live without this, definitely. Next one, I just got this from LinkedIn a couple of days ago. Maybe that lady's here who put it on. She said she might be here. The thing is with duolingo, I know a lot of people like them, like it, but why do we need to tap into these things? Like, you're making me sad, you're making me angry. Are you sure it's the best? Are they sure it's the best way to motivate people, to make them feel bad? And I feel abandoned and triggering who knows what in people. I don't think so personally. Next one, this is a big one. Again, it was a really great article on LinkedIn about this a couple of days ago. So when we ask security questions, why are we asking these questions? These memories could be so bad. The first one, what was your childhood nickname? How many of us did get not good nicknames from our parents, from school? Do we want to be reminded of that? I don't think so. Favorite teacher? Could be a good one, could be a very toxic one who actually put you down too often. And this is a security question, and you must fill it. There's not easy way to avoid it. We could ask actually positive questions, like when was your last holiday, or favorite holiday, or something like that. How difficult is that to just switch the tone? These are very personal questions, and again, we don't know what you're going to trigger, and it usually happens when you need to fill out something important. If you get memoryless, if you get startled, if you get irritated, frustrated, you're likely to make a mistake. Not good for everybody, for anybody. Next one, another favorite, this one. This is the address of my ex who worked here, and I cannot remove this for the love of anything. And it's been a year, and I still cannot remove it. Why? Why can I not remove it? And it's obviously we are on good terms, there's nothing major happened there. However, what if it was an abusive relationship? What if he's the last or she's the last person I want to get out of my system in any sort of way? I cannot do it because of Uber. And again, it's a hospital, it's a good example. What if it was my mom who was dying for months and I had to visit her in the hospital for a long time, and I don't want to get reminded of that. Such a small feature, delete, this is it. Google Maps is actually doing it, so that's good. And the ultimate one, when you need to see your deceased relatives, and this lady was putting it on Twitter or X these days. Why do we need to do that? Like, it's just unnecessary, and we could do better for sure. Who did it? Well, who did a good job? Flow Health. If you don't know what it is, it's an app that you can track your period and help with your fertility journey. And they actually put out a very nice content warning, first of all, and they mentioned it could be emotional. Then if you had a termination or an abortion, they actually give you this option to put it there, I'm no longer pregnant. And after that, they let you delete pregnancy info, so you don't need to see it ever if you don't want to. I think it's brilliant. And the skincare company, Mother Days, oh my goodness. Being a mother, not having you can't be a mother, you don't want to be a mother, you have a bad relationship with your mother, do you need to get this all the time, or can you just opt out? I think it's very thoughtful. And that's about design. Researchers, I'm sure so many of us are researchers here. It can come up. I'm working on mostly on public sector projects. So many things can come up. There was this time when my colleague and myself were conducting a research about fertility issues, and it's a very sensitive topic. Again, build rapport with your users, super important. And she said this sentence: the doctor told me to get a puppy instead of a child. And obviously it was horrible. It was really hard to go. How do you go forward after? You can't just, okay, where do you click next? It's not how it goes. But what I didn't expect, that my colleague, who was just randomly brought into this session, comes back to me on Monday, and we had a really good relationship to talk about these things. And he said, like, look, one of my close friends is going through this, and it really stayed with me for the whole weekend. You don't know. Do you look after each other as well, and be mindful of because you don't know what your coworker and your users are going through at that point. Before I finish up, some tips here for us to take away. What can we do in terms of trauma-informed research? So again, awareness, get trained, have at least one trauma-informed team member on your team if it's possible. And if you also have the chance, provide to your users those culturally aware people or safe person they want to do the sessions with, if it's possible. Engagement, we just mentioned before, keep time. Time can be so triggering. If they're too late, it's too long. I had a session that ran 30 minutes over. I couldn't believe it. I was even triggered myself, let alone the user. Read the nonverbal cues, get educated on that, but they might be struggling, and now you know why that could be. And let's not forget they are on the spotlight. We can say, oh, it's for money, oh, we just want your opinion. No, they still feel that they are on the spotlight, so many of them at least. Be open and honest about everything they need to know. I really don't like that, shifted like that. Payment and follow-up. You need to pay them. They are there to get their money as well, and it gets forgotten. It's really not good for your reputation either. Give them choices, and also physical comfort. We mentioned that before, and we agree on that. Instructions to find the location. I mean, Google Maps is also, sometimes it's just a nightmare and really can put you into a really agitated state. Visible doors, water, and if they have neurodiversity, let them fidget or just take as they want to. And of course, look after each other as researchers yourself. And some design elements that we heard already about. That safety question. First of all, ask only what's really necessary for you, and be aware of triggering questions or prompts that you that you might ask for no good reason. Mobiles are really important in terms of danger and accessibility. Some people might only have access to mobiles or they're escaping a situation. If you have a product or service that could be helpful, for example, ordering a pizza, we know the news, it helped people, it did save them, provide notes if possible, and also just be very clear. So if there is a danger, they can find the info super quickly what they need. And again, responsive websites are also important. Clarity, again, prices. I just can't take it when I don't find a price, especially if you want to sell me something that is just a number one. You need to know that. Easy payment options, all the important information, be visible contacts. It's really frustrating when you can't find those. And error prevention and recovery. I just sent a job application a couple of days ago, and I didn't see how many more steps I have, so I did a trial. When I uploaded a wrong cover letter, and it's gone, and I cannot do anything about it. It's devastating, and I cannot believe it's happening. It happened to me, but it did. But it's one of our basic, human-centered principles. Make sure they can recover from mistakes, or you try not to get to that point. So, yes, thanks for watching. Thank you so much.